obviously, I know you guys will be interested in Demarcus, so talking with him, I think he does understand the severity of this and how lucky we were that nobody was injured. I do believe that he's remorseful. We are going to let the legal process take place. The league has a process as well. He won't be suspended as it relates to this week. There'll be some things that we deal with internally. I'll keep that in-house with him. But I did appreciate his ability to acknowledge it to the team while also not minimizing or undermining the severity of what could have been. And I do trust that he's going to learn from it, and I think it'll be a good learning opportunity for our whole football team, and that's how we'll move forward.
So he will play?
He will.
And have you heard anything from the league about what they plan?
Usually they go through, just their process and waiting until his court date for anything official, and so that usually takes some time. But they're aware of it, and we'll kind of let them take their course.
Did he address the team at all?
He did, yeah.
In a meeting setting?
He did, yes.
You said he had a good heart. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think when you're around certain people and you just trust, just based on your gut instinct. I think it was a bad decision he made. I don't think that makes him a bad person. And I do believe this is something that, with the words that he said, our guys will learn from it, and hopefully nobody's ever going to repeat something like this, and let it be a learning opportunity and a fortunate outcome in the fact that nobody was injured. I mean, you look at some situations and circumstances that can occur, and I don't believe there was malicious intentions, but God forbid if something would happen to him or somebody else, that's what we're grateful for. And I think I just, I trust in my heart that I believe him, and I know that he's remorseful and regretful, and I think forgiveness is a real thing.
When you are informed of an incident like that,
yeah.
I mean, I know you handle it in terms of you're going to talk to him and he's a human and everything else, but is your initial reaction ever like, what the heck, or I mean, how do you...
I think you want to ask questions to try to understand, and I'll tell you guys what I told him. There's too many avenues for rides or Ubers or whatever it is, and we got to be smarter than that. And I do trust that there was a genuine and a sincere regret, remorse, and I think he'll apply the learning lessons moving forward.
Is he leaving the facility or leaving?
No. He was out, and that was kind of.
When you get back to football, you've often said we're not going to let a team beat us twice.
Yeah.
For this week, what goes into that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is addressing the things that need to be addressed and how it applies for us being able to move forward. It's all about teaching. It's all about creating the understanding and the honest perspective of how we move forward and what's in front of us. All we can do is the next right thing. I think there was a lot of good learning opportunities, as what this season has really been full of. We've got a lot of guys that are experiencing things for the first time, and I have seen the resolve of this group show itself. Now, we've got to do it, and we are looking for more consistency, obviously, but all we can do is have a good practice today and focus on, one day at a time. There's some similarities, but I think, when you look at it schematically, and some of which has been, clearly, they've done a good job. I think their record's misleading. They've done a good job, Greg, of winning the last 2 games. They're coming off their bye. There's still some foundational things, but, defensively, Joe Woods has done a nice job. And then Kubiak, based on just losing some of those receivers, I think he's done a really good job of being able to utilize a variety of different personnels, and you still see the same influence that Coach Rizzi has on the teams. So, but I do know this. I've seen, especially in the last couple weeks, a really good football team. They've beat an Atlanta team that's leading their division. And you look at the way that the Browns played last Thursday against one of the better teams in this league, and they did an excellent job being able to take care of them as well.
Sean, what's your assessment of Derek Carr as a quarterback?
I think he's a really good player. He's got a bunch of experience, Maria. He can activate all parts of the field. I think he's sneaky mobile if you allow him to be able to extend plays. And if he gets hot, you're in deep trouble. And so a lot of respect for his body of work, his resume over time. And, we got to be ready to roll.
Judge Cardi said you guys had a pretty good conversation about some of the things that he's going through. This first time he's missed multiple kicks in his career. Are you able to share any more about that from your perspective and kind of what you view of his situation?
Yeah, I would say, I keep that between us, but it's more about, just continuing to get to know these guys, understand, really try to instill belief with an authenticity, understand that, like, hey, let's apply learning lessons to all these things. That was kind of the nature of it, Jordan.
Do you have confidence in that operation moving forward? Do you feel you can still deploy the game plan that you want?
I do, yes.
Taysom Hill kind of gives them a X factor.
Heck yeah.
What have you seen from him over the years?
It's just that. I mean, the X factor. I mean, the versatility. I mean, I can remember when we were in Green Bay when I first got here, and he's playing quarterback, and he can legitimately throw the football. But I mean, you see the competitive toughness where, I mean, he can run after the catch. He can be a lead blocker. They do a great job of utilizing his versatile skill set that truly makes him an X factor. And he obviously had a tremendous impact on their most recent game. And he's been one of those guys that if he gets into a rhythm and a groove, he can be a real nightmare to defend. And they obviously have some other really great players, and Kamara is as good as it gets and as versatile as it gets. So those two players are excellent, and Taysom is coming off a really impressive performance.
I think Chris talked last week, and your players talked about how just against the Eagles, allowing Saquon to get into the second level is dangerous. With Kamara and Hill, are you guys facing kind of a similar?
Oh yeah, I mean, those guys are dangerous. They're big plays waiting to happen. Some of the things that occurred the other day, I mean, you talk about the importance of being able to play team defense and not allowing a guy that's as explosive as Saquon to be able to get to the second and third levels of the defense unabated, where he can make you miss, and then he's got the ability to outrun those angles. Both those guys are capable of that. Obviously, Saquon is a really special player. The second one, we didn't follow a puller back, and we were in a really heavy defensive, run defense with not a lot of layers in terms of just layers and levels of the defense. And so once he got through that second level, he was gone. But those are certainly things that they hurt, but it's about being able to correct it and move forward. And like I said, I've seen that on display, and you'd prefer us not to have to necessarily show that quite as consistently as we have, and we're still hunting up consistency. But I do appreciate the way these guys come to work, and we're going to give everything that we got and keep swinging, and I love the resolve of this group.
When you have a player come multiple weeks in a row, is there a conversation you have about what?
Oh yeah, you certainly have those conversations, and you understand, it's about being able to correct, negative experiences without teaching. I think it's where you lose morale, and so it's really important to be able to have teaching. Let's apply it. Kyren is so conscientious, and in a lot of instances, he is such a great competitor, and that's one of his best traits, that you're saying, okay, when you were doing this, let's understand what a great job these defenses do at attacking the football. Where are we leaving ourselves susceptible, and what can we do to try to be able to give ourselves the best chance to get as many yards as possible, while also not, potentially giving the football up. And so I trust him being able to move forward. He's always been a guy that's been mentally tough. He's been able to respond, and I think that's going to be reflected moving forward.
Will his role stay the same 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Guys on Sunday were talking about first and second down.
Talking about from an offensive perspective, I think there was times, you look at it early on, Adam, and even in some instances in the New England game, when you're really rolling offensively, you're not seeing many third downs, and that you've had a good game offensively when you look up at the stat sheet and you see about 8 attempts on third downs. What you can't do is be inefficient or go backwards on either first or second down via penalty or a negative yardage, because now it's really challenging, especially when you go against an opponent like that, and really most of the teams that you're playing against. And so that is important. And percentage-wise, the lower the third down window, the higher the percentage should be. That's obviously, as you guys have asked, been a point that, we've got to continue to improve upon. But I do think there were some drives where it was reflective of, we really didn't even have to get into third downs. And then the ones that we did, clearly we weren't good enough. The only the silver lining, if you will, is there were some good conversions on fourth down. You get a 3rd and 3, you throw a flat route, and you're kind of in a 4-down territory. And so you're still extending the drive, which is ultimately the goal at hand. But that has been an area that is not nearly good enough. Our guys know that, we know that, and we're working our tails off to try to be able to get that better.
Just doing everything we can. Obviously, it's at a point in the season where every game matters and it's extremely important. So just doing everything we possibly can as a group, to try to make sure that we come out with the results that we want on Sundays.
Sean, Demarcus addressed the team today. What was the message, and what, if anything, quarterback say to him?
I mean, I'll kind of keep what he said kind of, in-house. Obviously, I thought what Sean said yesterday was great. Just let this be a lesson to all of us, that we're lucky that with the result that came of it, to be honest with you, that nobody was hurt or injured. I know that D-Rob's a great person. Love being around him, love him as a teammate. Those things aren't things that he wants to do or be a part of, so I know he'll learn from it. We all will. As far as me being a quarterback, I'm just trying to support him, help him out any way I can.
You were one of the guys just said, let's not let Eagles beat us twice. What does that mean specifically this week?
Yeah, just, make sure you turn the page. Obviously, there's things that we want to correct from the game and find ways to be better moving forward. But make sure that we come out with great energy today, starts today. Go out there, have a good practice. There's going to be things we want to clean up from practice. Make sure we do that and move on day to day with the right attitude and the right spirit.
With the road games, sort of run into Tyler Higbee running around, excited, trying to fire everybody up, and then after the game, it just seems like he's been wanting to get back out for so long. Have been back in practice this week. What's your enthusiasm level? What's he been like even away from the field?
Yeah, I'm just happy for him. I mean, it's such a difficult thing to go through injury, especially a long-term one like that. So I'm, so happy for him, proud of him. In and out of this room, out of the training room, walking around, you just see the work that he's put in to get to where he is now, to be able to come back out there and do what he loves. Just happy for him. He's obviously a big-time player for our team, not only in what he does on the field, but just the spirit that he brings and the way he plays the game. So, just happy that he's out to be able to be back out there on the grass with us is a big lift.
How hard do you see him stay engaged with, especially with younger guys on the team?
Yeah, he loves the game. He loves the game. He loves being a part of a group, a team. He's one of those guys that you love having in the locker room. So, he's around as much as he possibly can be when he's not in there working out or doing things for, his health, trying to get back to 100%. So, he's been a pro the entire time, which is not surprising when you know him. But it is a great, example for guys that are younger or whatever that are going through things like that. If you want to be like somebody through that process, he'd be the one.
You know what it's like to work through injuries like that. What is the toughest part?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you can feel isolated. You spend so much time in there trying to find a way to get yourself back out there that maybe you're not in as many meetings or you're not out on the field with the guys. There's a certain feeling you get just being out there practicing or being in the huddle or being part of it. So I know that that's a feeling that's tough sometimes, but he's always around and doing the best he can to be a part of it. And now he's back at it doing what he loves, which is great.
The last time you played at Superdome got hurt. It wasn't a great experience.
Yeah.
What were your memories of that game? And does it seem like a long time ago, or?
Yeah, it does. Does seem like a while ago. Kind of a back and forth. Had a big play to 2-2. Had a couple other decent ones, good 2-minute drive if I remember correctly. Didn't play much in the second half, but I've played there quite a few times. My first start ever was there, so played there quite a few times. A really tough place to play, always is, and a great atmosphere.
Being that tomorrow's Thanksgiving, do you miss playing that Thursday game?
I do. I loved it. I loved knowing going into the season that we were going to have that game. You knew it was going to be the early window. It was going to be a tough turnaround physically and mentally to get there and be ready to go for a 12 o'clock kick on a Thursday. But you had a long weekend after Thanksgiving. You could really enjoy it if you had family in town. I was at home, eating dinner with them with kind of a normal Thanksgiving after the game was over.
Will you be able to have a normal Thanksgiving here?
Not so much. Got to practice the next day and a game that weekend. It's not all it used to be. That's okay.
When you were starting, was John Madden still involved with that?
Yeah, I think he was still calling games. That'd be a good check. Yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
Do you remember having meetings with him at all?
Oh, you're talking about on Thursday stuff. Yeah. No, I mean, golly, you're putting me on the spot. I'd have to think way back, but not any that stick out, to be honest with you.
You want to know if you have the turducken?
Yeah, I have not had the turducken, but I grew up watching Cowboys football on Thanksgiving because I was a Cowboys fan, being from Dallas. So heard quite a bit about the turducken over the years.
Your impression of the Saints defense?
Aggressive, physical, at all levels. Big front, physical, like to rush the passer. long guys. Obviously, 56 and 20 been doing it for a while, 56 for a long time. Davis has been a really good player for a long time, in the second level. And then they've got some veterans with a mix of good young guys in the back end as well. So talented defense, physical up front, in your face, ready to go. So we got to be ready to go.
Havenstein ends up returning on Sunday. What would he bring to the offense?
Obviously experience. He's played in big-time games in tough environments against good players. Obviously a talented football player, has been a really, good player since I've been here, and a staple, really long before that. So if he is able to get back out there, I'd be happy to have him, not only with how he blocks and how he plays, but just the leadership and experience he brings to the huddle as well.
What goes into, I guess I should say, making sure you don't have a repeat of a run game like last Sunday?
100%, yeah. And you just look at it play by play and correct what you can correct. Some of the stuff, some of it, as coaches, we want to see scheme-wise what we can do to put our guys in the best position. And then some of it is just players doing their job, within the scheme of the defense. And, the nice thing is whether it's a scheme or the call or just guys doing their job, all the stuff is correctable. And, we just look to get better moving forward.
Chris, you were saying that last week, if it looks to the outside, that could be dangerous. Do you feel that's the same thing this week?
With Kamara, yeah, absolutely. Go from a great back to another great back that's been doing it a long time. Obviously, they'll utilize him in a lot of different ways in the pass game, in the screen game, running the ball. So, different way how they design it, how they get to him. Different style of O-line play, but definitely the same threat. As soon as he breaks through the line and he's got space, he's one of the scariest guys in the NFL, just like we saw last week.
There are skill guys throughout the league, obviously, that you have to be aware of what they want out of all times. But what makes Taysom Hill in terms of maybe seeing where he wants to true indicator of how he actually be used?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of anybody else in the league that lines up as multiple spots as he does, where he lines up at, fullback, tailback, where they can hand him the ball. He can line up at, true inline tight end. He can line up an off-the-ball tight end, or you line up a receiver, obviously quarterback. So, he is. You obviously got to know when he's on the field, and you got to account for him everywhere he is. And it's been a great challenge. It feels like, I remember playing against him in the NFC title. It's been forever now. He's been doing it, and they've been utilizing him. So he's done an excellent job. I know he had a great game 2 weeks ago, and we know they're going to look to feature him again.
As a position coach, part of an organization, you have a tough game, you've got to flush it and move on. As a coordinator that have gone through that particular game on Sunday, are you able to get that out of your mind quickly?
It's definitely tough, but it's part of being in professional football. And, at some point, you got to move on. And I think, we talked, when you address the defense too, I call it just stick your face in the fan and get corrected what needs to get corrected, be accountable for what you need to do, and let's move on and whatever we can do to go play well in defense this week and go and get a tough road win. That's what we got to do. But, you got to move on and do your routine just because, we obviously had an unfortunate night and didn't play to our capabilities and didn't play well at all. That doesn't mean you have to change every single thing. You got to correct what you need to correct. There are snaps in the game where we played good defense, and there's obviously games and snaps in the past where we played good defense. We know what it looks like now. We just got to do it consistently.
Talk about your first half of the game. It sounded being pretty hard on himself. Do you see that accountability this week?
Yeah, definitely. He's always accountable, and he wants to help the defense and work so hard to make plays for the defense. And it's always just a young player, educating him on when those ops are to make plays and how he does influence and impact the game, even though sometimes it may not be on the stat sheet and things like that. So, he's always going to be accountable. He always wants what's best for the team, and now he's just keep working with them, doing it within the scheme and the structure of the defense. I definitely agree with everything he's saying, and some of that situational football, some of that, especially the other night, they were in, third downs a decent amount of time, and it was a third and favorable. So there's a little bit of obviously you don't want to be in that 3rd and 4 to 5 range. The odds are obviously a little more tilted a little more against you in those instances, but you do need to find a way to get stops in those. I don't think we got any in those when you got him into those instances, and then. yeah, finding a way to get stops, finding a way to play, get them off track, get them into, second and longs where you get those third and longs and you can earn the right to rush the passer. There's been games where we've done a decent job at that, and Sunday night, was where they were kind of on schedule, and it just felt like they were playing the game on their terms for the most part.
Yeah, it's kind of the word consistency right now. I mean, there's times where it feels like we go right down the field and put it in, and there's other times where it just feels a little bit harder than it should. So I think that's the biggest key right now. I mean, it's third and long for anybody's not easy. It's just been especially hard for us as of late and really this whole year. But even the third manageables haven't been to the clip that we're accustomed to. So we got to get that fixed. We got to get it fixed fast.
You guys got off to what looked like a pretty fast start, ball was moving, and then a fumble.
Yep.
Have you addressed that? Anything with Kyren other than
Yeah, listen, Kyren knows, and we know as an offense. We talk about, the ball every single Thursday. Nick Haley does an incredible job with it. He's conscious of it. He knows. We keep coaching, and he's made it the right stuff. We'll help him, but he'll get it fixed.
Is there anything consistent you've seen through his fumbles? Like, is there any?
There's always a story behind a fumble, and sometimes you give credit to a defensive guy, but if you can find one little slither that you can coach out of these guys where there's any bit of air, and the security's just not what it should be, you coach it up because, again, the ball's as important as anything except for points, right? So, we know that, Kyren knows that, all our guys know that. The ball's at a premium, we got to do a better job with it.
Like, sort of a two-part question, if you don't mind, but from a dual perspective, when you're out here working on the field or like in training camp and maybe a mama period or a live situation, what is it like for you to talk through pre-snap pressure recognition with Matthew and then watch him and hear him really when you're on the field out here, hear him go through that and sort of orchestrate that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, it's kind of behind closed doors when we're doing that. Him and Rag spend, time in between series. I'm kind of all over the place talking to whoever I got to talk to, but usually that happens behind closed doors, and then for us, we just get to watch it in, in real time, whether it be practice or the game, and he's pretty special when it comes to all that pre-snap stuff. Again, he's done it for a long time. He takes a lot of pride in the pre-snap operation in terms of just handling us, handling our protections, getting his coverage reads and stuff like that. So it's pretty special to watch.
Second part of that question is when you're up in the booth and you have an opportunity to, and you see that you've seen something and adjusted, and you see that he's about to be right. I guess what is that reaction for you, or what is that feeling for you?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I'm in the bird's eye. I get to all 22, so I get to tell him I saw it before him, But no kidding, I did. I'm way up there, and half of that's probably a lie, because he sees it so fast. So, again, it's just, you don't take for granted every minute that you get with a guy like Matthew Stafford, and I hope he wants to go until the wheels totally fall off because it's not even close yet. He's got so much good football in front of him if that's what he wants to do. So just a pleasure working with him every day.
What do you learn the most from a quarterback like that? It's just so high up on the chain.
Yeah, what you learn is that not every quarterback's going to be cut like that. I mean, sometimes it's one of those things of, you're spoiled with all the knowledge that he has and how simple he's able to make it. It might not be simple on Wednesday when he first gets in. He's, sitting there talking to the sky, trying to memorize the plan in the calls because he wants to be so fluid on a Wednesday, let alone a Sunday. But it's just that. It's just neat to watch.
When you look at go ahead, sorry.
When Jimmy signed for this team, he came into a role that he really didn't have a lot of experience as a backup quarterback. How have you seen him take advantage of the reps he's giving in practice, and is there anything that stands out about how he's made his defense better?
Yeah, he's a pro. I mean, he's obviously I've had a pretty long history with Jimmy. I have a ton of respect for Jimmy as a person and as a player. Even more so now since he's been in this role. He's attacked this role just like a starter, but he's also been awesome for Matthew, you know, as a supporter, because that's a big-time role as a backup quarterback, being there for your guy, and he's as big of a Matthew Stafford fan as anyone else. It's been good. He's grown. I think he's really enjoyed the experience. Obviously, he's a competitor. He wants to play. That's what you want from your backup quarterbacks or your third quarterback. And then at the same time, he's able to give that defense a really good look, because that's starter quality that these guys have to go up against Wednesday through Friday. So he's working. Love Jimmy.
Is that just some of the throws he can make?
Yeah, I mean, he's as talented as a thrower you know, as there is out there, and it's always been that way. The ball just comes out the way you want it to come out. It's pretty fun watching those guys in routes on air, because you just don't get that everywhere else.
On the film, what jumps out to you on the Saints defense?
Yeah, well, they're playing at a really high clip these last few weeks. I've always had a lot of respect. I get it. It you know, didn't work out for one reason or another in terms of Dennis, but again, I have a ton of respect for him as a coach and a player. Joe has gone in there and put his own little spin on it within the foundation. These guys are playing hard. They're playing hard for Riz, and you know, they're not out of it. You're not out of it in this league until it's just all said and done, and they're not out of it at all. They're playing that way. It's going to be a great test for us when we get to that place. It's always a hard place to play.
What's it like having Tyler Higbee back at practice?
Just energy, it puts a smile on your face. He's one of those guys that there's a lot of guys like it, but especially him, in terms of why you like to coach and why you love coming to work to help guys like him, or him helping you, and you know, enjoy your day a little bit better, and understanding that, you know, what we do is pretty dang lucky. So he just has such a great vibe and energy about him that fun for him, but man, does he make everyone else a better player too, just with his presence.